Welcome to Star Potential, a podcast where we explore the meaning of our existence while having a few laughs and sometimes tears through stories from the road of life. I'm your host, Julie Jo Hughes. As a stage performer, my life is quite literally about song and dance. I believe that life here on Earth is a playground for discovery, not a contest to be won. We ask questions together like, how do I evolve my consciousness? And how do you sing a passionate ballad when there's an old guy in the front row with his balls showing? True story. Stick around for these fun conversations. Hi, it's Julie Jo, and welcome back to the Star Potential Podcast. With love in the air and Valentine's Day approaching, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about self-love. So this is something that gets thrown around a lot, definitely in the self-development and the self-improvement world, is having love for ourselves, and that we must start with love for ourselves before we can love others. And if you're like me, you might have visited this topic with a little bit of confusion. I have thought about this a lot, and when people say it's so important to love yourself, it can feel kind of weird, right? It feels somehow, especially if you're a person who grew up with this idea that you needed to be a nice girl or a nice person, and if it was valued to be nice above being authentic, then sometimes it can be especially hard for us to embrace this idea of self-love or putting ourselves first. It's that whole thing that they tell you when you're on the airplane and they say, for those of you traveling with small children, please always apply your oxygen mask first before helping those who depend on you. And when I was first a mom, I didn't really understand when they would say that. It was like, what are you talking about? Of course I'm going to save my baby first. It takes a little bit of experience in the more demanding pieces through motherhood or any kind of caregiver situation to start to understand why they tell you to put on your oxygen mask first, right? You learn that you can't pour from an empty cup. You learn that if I'm not able to even breathe, how can I begin to help you with what you're going through? So it always comes back to taking care of yourself, not from a way of, oh, I just am so selfish and I have to take care of myself first. It's, yes, I am selfish in the smartest way because I understand that if I don't take care of my own self-regulation, then I don't stand a chance at being able to help you with yours. Especially as women and mothers, we're often the ones in those roles of holding the space for others, of needing to have an immense amount of patience and compassion and understanding. But even for those of you who are not female or not in a mothering role, it's just as important for you because we all have these moments where we need to hold the space for someone else. That's compassion, that's understanding, that's love for others. But you will not have the capacity to do that without burnout, that being the key, if you haven't figured out how to take care of yourself first. So this idea of self-love is not about being selfish in a negative way. It's about recognizing that if I am not taking care of my basic essential needs, I will not be able to best serve those around me whom I love and care about. And therefore, it is of utmost importance because of my love for them to also take care of myself first. I want to talk a little bit about the kinds of ways that we do take care of ourselves. And sometimes this takes a little bit of trial and error, figuring out what really are your priorities. What do you need to do to take care of yourself? For me, I very much value silence and solitude. Even though I am an outgoing social creature, I cannot do that if I don't also have the yin and yang. I have to have that alone time, that space to myself. And when I was a new and young mom, this was kind of hard for me because you suddenly have this little creature attached to you all the time. In some cases, literally for survival, you're breastfeeding. They actually have to be attached to your body for survival. But even after that, there is so much cuddling and warmth that we're both gaining things from there's a symbiotic relationship there, right? Of the love that's being given and received. But also knowing that I was a person that really valued my solitude and time alone, I had to learn how to walk through that with a little person at my side at all times. And that was really good for me. But now that the kids are a little bit older and they're in school, and I do have the freedom to kind of arrange my day where I can have some alone working time, I love being able to work alone from home. I love getting up early in the morning and sitting in silence by myself. It's also nice when I get to see my husband in the morning. We get to have a real adult conversation without being interrupted. But also when he leaves for work, I have that precious, cherished time that I have. And so that's one way that we can have self-love is if you're like me and you're a person who really values that solitude and that time alone, and not just for work time, but sometimes you just need time to regroup and be with yourself. And especially as we are rewriting our patterns, as we are examining our catalysts, as we are examining these patterns that made us who we are and unlearning and becoming new versions of ourselves, it is incredibly important that we have the space and opportunity to be able to do that. And so one way that I do that for myself is I make sure that I get to bed at a decent time so that I can keep my promise to myself of getting up at a certain time. For me, my golden time is early in the morning before the sun rises. Sometimes that's like 4:45 a.m. I like to get up so that I can have time because I'm not naturally just like a squirrel in the morning. I need a little bit of time to warm up to the morning. I like to have a warm beverage in the morning. I like to journal. I like to light my candle and have a crackling flame. I like to sit in silent meditation or guided meditation sometimes, depending on what I'm feeling called to. I often will have chanting music behind me. That helps me get out of my head. When the day starts becoming busier and noisier, it's really hard for me to focus and hear my inner voice, which I have learned is vital to my health and well-being. So that's what works for me. For some of you, that would be easier to do at night. Maybe after everyone else has gone to bed, you have your own quiet time. And so if you're using that time right now to do kind of a zone out activity like watching TV or something like that, there's no judgment here. If that's your thing and that's what helps you decompress, then do that. But also, I invite you to create the space to have time to do this self-work too. So for me, the decompression happens first thing in the morning. I light that candle and there's a very sensual experience for me. I love wearing like a warm sweater and socks. I love the crackling sound of my candle that has a wooden wick. I love playing meditation music, which puts me in kind of a sensual, soft space. All of those sensual elements help me drop in to hearing my inner voice and connecting with my heart. So for you, if it helps you to decompress, to have sound and things, you want to watch some comedy show that helps you kind of decompress from the busyness of the day, then do that. Can you use that as a tool for your decompression and then to go to the place where you can do a little bit of self-work? Even if that's just 5 minutes before I fall asleep, I'm going to consciously fall asleep. So what does that mean? That means instead of just closing my eyes and running through my to-do list of everything I need to do tomorrow and all the things. Now, a to-do list helps me immensely, but I need to like brain dump it on a Post-it and then put it away. If I don't do that, I know that for me and my brain, if I leave it circulating and rambling in my head, I'm going to continue looking at it and thinking about it in my mind space. Once I write it down, I'm able to kind of let it go. So you might try that. If you're a person with a very busy mind like mine, it can be very helpful to write it out. And that connection between the brain and the hand of putting those thoughts out onto the paper can actually help us to release wanting to have control of them. So, okay, they've been put into existence now. They're on a piece of paper. I no longer need to go over and over and over that in my mind to make sure I don't forget it. It's written down. So you might try that. As you're doing this conscious 5 minutes before you fall asleep, maybe you've written your list out for the next day, and then just take 5 minutes to really drop in to your heart to a place of gratitude and be as specific as possible. So the more generic you are, I'm thankful for my house. I'm thankful for my spouse. I'm thankful for my kids. I'm thankful for my dog. Like, that's great. That's a good starting point, but that's very like surface level gratitude. And instead of choosing 20 things to think of what you're so grateful for, I invite you to focus on maybe 1, 2, or 3 specific things that you're grateful for. And can you give yourself 5 examples of why you're grateful for that thing? Can you drop into that thing? Can you begin to feel your gratitude for that thing? So let's say it's your dog. I am so grateful for this sweet pup, Declan, that came into my life. I love the way he waits with a worried look when I'm putting my coat on. And as soon as I start to grab the leash, he wags his tail because he gets to go along too. That feeling swells my heart. I love that he just feels like all is right in his world when he gets to go too. I love the way that he comes and whines at me in the morning when it's not a school day and he thinks that the kids have overslept and they're late for school. How beautiful is that to have a dog that is keeping me on track? I love the way that he chooses which treat he wants. I love that we have discovered this method of communication between us where when I ask him a question, I've noticed if the answer is yes, he slightly squints his eyes at me. If the answer is no, he darts his eyes to the side. How beautiful is this connection that I've established with this creature in my life? I love the way that my kids light up when they come home from school and their dog is so happy to see them that he is speaking to them in his own language, letting them know that he has been waiting for them all day. So these are a few examples of how we can take one specific thing that we're grateful for and really start to go a little bit deeper into the details. When we do that, we allow ourselves to feel in our body and on a much deeper energetic level the true gratitude for this person or this thing that we have. When we connect truly with the gratitude, we are now changing our vibration. We are changing the energetic frequency that we are living on and that we are emitting. So we want to think of it like ripples in a pond. If you throw a stone into a still body of water, it doesn't just affect that one spot, right? The place where you drop the stone, ripples will emit outwardly in every direction from the place where the stone was dropped. So anytime we are changing the frequency of ourselves, we're not just affecting ourselves, but we're affecting everything outward around us in all directions. And you will begin to see these changes. As I have become more and more conscious, I see my relationship with my husband changing. I see my relationship with my 10-year-old son changing. I see my relationship with my parents changing because the more love we have for ourselves, the more love we are able to have and to give to others. So we are not being selfish by doing the things that allow us to feel whole and at peace and in gratitude. It's actually of utmost importance. And I have a question for you. Do you love yourself? I have another question for you. What did you answer when I said that? What happened in your body? Did you scoff? Or did you say, of course I love myself? Did you get defiant? Or did you say, that's a dumb thing. Who asked that question? I don't have time to think about, do I love myself? Let me ask you this. Do you want to be happy? If you answered yes, then think of somebody who, and hopefully maybe you don't have anyone like this. Do you have someone that you really you just can't stand them? Ugh. It might be somebody in your daily life. It might be somebody from afar, like maybe a politician you don't agree with or something. Is there somebody that when you think of them, you're just like, ugh? If so, do you want them to be happy? Like, maybe don't give me the answer you think you're supposed to give me, but like, what's your gut answer? Did you go, ugh, again? If so, then you maybe haven't found love for that person at this point, right? No judgment. We're just taking stock here. So when I asked you, do you want to be happy? Did you go like, yeah, of course. Okay, if you want yourself to be happy, then you love yourself, right? Because if you didn't love yourself, you wouldn't really give a shit if you were happy or not, right? So if you truly desire to be happy, then you do love yourself. You see, sometimes we have to come at things from a different angle like that to understand them. I have been there where I thought, I don't know. I don't really love myself. I don't respect myself. I don't think that I deserve certain things. But if I could ask myself that question, do you want to be happy? Of course I want to be happy. Doesn't everyone want to be happy? Well, if you desire for yourself to be happy, I think that means you love yourself. Maybe, right? So if you want to be happy, love yourself. If you love the people around you, then love yourself. When you can learn to love and accept the pieces of yourself that at some point you deemed unlovable or unworthy, wow, think of the capacity that you will now have to show patience, empathy, compassion, and kindness to all those around you, starting with the ones closest to you who are most important to you, and eventually expanding out to people you don't even know. You're able to share love with them too, because you begin to see that ultimately loving another is just an extension of yourself. So it all starts with self-love, and then we're able to give to others from there. Happy Valentine's Day. And let me know in the comments or in the DMs what you're going to do or your favorite way to show yourself love. Thank you for tuning into Star Potential with Julie Jo Hughes. If this episode resonates with you, please share it with a friend or shout us out on Instagram with the tag @TheJulieJo. That's TheJuliejo. I made you a gift. Please visit us on Instagram to receive my Grounded in Gratitude singing meditation. Want a shot at our monthly giveaway? Please leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts with your email or Instagram handle so we can give you credit. Thank you for your love and support. Until next time, keep shining your light. And that's a wrap.